Hello and welcome to LA Dodger Report. What a short time it's been where we've gone from the Dodgers being in the penthouse to looking like they belong in the basement. Well, it's not all gloom and doom, and it's not quite time to panic yet. Way back in the beginning of August, I wrote over on the LA Dodger Report website about why this was going to happen more often than less in the month of August, which we just closed out. August was going to be about auditions, and August was going to be about taking chances and seeing who's ready for the postseason roster. So that was going to happen. Now, what happened to combine with that, unfortunately, was a couple of injured players, an injured pitcher, traded for pitcher that didn't quite work out as well, hasn't worked out yet as well as we hoped for, and a couple of guys going into slumps. One of our biggest bats going on the DL. Those things weren't planned for, and who can see those things coming? Combine that with the Arizona Diamondbacks becoming the hottest team in baseball and having the Dodgers encounter all of that and run into the Diamondbacks right at the same time. Thus, the Dodgers look pretty bad, and the Dodgers lost some games in the standings. But that's going to change. It should change anyway. I sure hope it's going to change. Let's take a look at the elements of the ball team and see a little bit more what I'm talking about. Starting pitching. Yes, the starters got knocked around a bit over the past week or so, and they were giving up a lot of first inning runs. That's true, and that was a little bit of a slump that pitchers are going to run into. But on the bright side, Clayton Kershaw came off the DL and still looked like Kershaw of old, so we can count on him. Rich Hill has, even though the rest of the Dodgers were slumping, Rich Hill has pitched very well. He pitched very well last night also. He didn't deserve to lose that game. Wood just came off the DL, so I would say let's give him another start or two to see just how right he is and how much he recovers. Maeda and Ryu have been a little bit up and down, but Ryu a little bit more on the steady uphill, looking very good and being a good starting pitcher. So I can see right now at this point Kershaw, Hill, and Hyunjin Ryu being pretty reliable pitchers for us. Let's hope Maeda nuts up, and let's hope that Alex Wood is going to also come back strong. Yu Darvish being a little bit of a question mark, but what are you going to do? The Dodgers traded for Yu Darvish. They took a shot on him, and hopefully he's going to get better. Bullpen. Auditions are going to continue in the bullpen. We're going to see Font, and we're going to see Castillo. Even if they had bad outings, we're going to continue to see them because this is the time to look at them. We are going to lose leads, and we are going to lose games that maybe we should have won. But that's what's going to happen in this stretch, at least over the next couple of weeks, because Roberts and Honeycutt are going to insert these guys in high pressure situations and see how they do. Watson and Cingrani, who the Dodgers traded for, are looking better and better. They're being pretty steady, and they're not getting knocked around so much as when they first came over. So those are small bright points. And if those guys continue to be steady and continue to improve, that's a good thing. Walker Buehler, big prospect who the Dodgers would not trade away, is now being called up. He'll be joining the Dodgers tomorrow, and so look for him. He should be an added boost to the Dodgers. What about Baez? Everybody's calling for Baez's head after giving up home runs the last couple of times out. It's true that this has been Baez's SOP. He gives up home runs. Yes, he does. But when Baez is good, he's very good. And that's why the Dodgers are keeping faith in him. So if Baez can turn things around, and they're going to send him out there again, they're going to send him out in a high leverage situation to see if he can turn things around. Baez is right now on the bubble and trying to either pitch himself on or off that postseason roster. This should be interesting to watch. And really, we should all be hoping that Baez is going to do well, because we want all our Dodgers to do well. Am I right? So good luck to Baez. But you know what? If he doesn't do well, then they will move on. But they're going to have to give him a couple of more times to see whether he's going to improve or not. The Dodgers did blow things at the trade deadline when they got kind of mid-level relief pitchers in Cingrani and Watson. They didn't go full on out like I wish they would have, and many others wish they would have. But those are the guys that we got. And as I said, on the bright side, they're improving. So let's hope that continues. Before we go on to one last thing, before we talk a little bit about the Dodgers lineup and the bats, let's talk a little bit about today's beer, huh? We got a beer out of Oregon today. This is from Deschutes Brewery in Oregon. So let's jump states. And we've got Pacific Wonderland's Lager. Taking a look at the side of the bottle, tells a little bit of story. Tells us that this is a dry hop lager. So they've added some hops in here, and it's only one kind of a hop. And the IBU factor, which is how hoppy the beer tastes, higher the number, hoppier, tangier the flavor. This is a 40, so it's not real high, but it's got a little bit of bite to it. And the alcohol is 5.5. So it's not a high alcohol beer. It's just a lager, but maybe a lager with a little bit of taste. Let's pour some and taste this, and then we'll talk a little bit about those Dodger bats. Here we go. I got a quick smell, quick whiff right out of the bottle. It's pouring with a good bit of head to it, huh? This reminds me a bit of that that very heady beer that we had last time around. All right, so Deschutes Pacific Wonderlands. Let's give it a taste. Golden color, lagery color, decent head, and let's see. Smells like a lager. Nothing much going on there special in the way of smell. First impression is not a lot special going on. Lagery, but it's really smooth, and those hops don't kick it up very much at all. It's not hoppy at all. So if you're looking for that, this isn't the beer. But if you're a lager lover, this is, man, I'm going to say it's very, it's average. It's pedestrian. There's really not a lot special about this. It's like French fries without ketchup. Yeah, there's not a lot going on here, you know. This is, I think, about the first time that we've cracked a beer that just really isn't very special. It's bubbly and it's activated if you like that kind of thing. Lagers aren't that exciting anyway in terms of a beer. It just has to be steady and smooth. And in that case, it does its job. We'll talk a little bit about the Dodger bats, and we'll come back to that lager in a minute, and we'll see what we think about it on second thought. The Dodger bats, you know, we talked about this before also. The Dodgers for a long time have had two dead bats in their lineup. The two dead bats for a long time were Forsythe and Jock Peterson. And then the Dodgers sent Peterson down, brought Adrian Gonzalez off the DL, and the two dead bats became Gonzalez and Forsythe. Most teams have a couple of dead zone bats in their lineup. It's totally normal. And you can sustain that when everybody else in the lineup is hitting like crazy. But the problem with having two guys in the lineup that aren't hitting is if one guy goes on a slump, like JT, Justin Turner went on a slump for a little while, and if you get a guy that goes on the DL, or at least isn't playing for a while like Corey Seager, then now all of a sudden you've gone from two dead bats to four. And let's face it, to four. And let's face it, in the National League, you don't get the DH. So most of the time the pitcher doesn't count as a hitter. So you really only have 8 hitters in the lineup. And if you've got 4 hitters not hitting, hey, that's 50% of your lineup. That's no surprise why there are not a lot of runs being scored. That's where the Dodgers have been the past couple of weeks. Now, a lot of people were just super upset over that guy JD Martinez who hit a whole bunch of home runs yesterday. They talked about, hitting 4 home runs in one game is so rare. It's even rarer than a perfect game. Well, you know why it's so rare for guys to hit 4 home runs in one game? I'll tell you. Because usually when guys hit 3 home runs in one game, the other team stops pitching to them. Now that was a problem that the Dodgers had yesterday, ending up giving 4 to a red-hot batter. But again, it's auditions, and they were going to pitch to the guy to see if those bullpen pitchers could do the job. It was already 9-0. What was it going to be, 12-0? So in a way it didn't matter. Pitch to the guy and see if you can get him. Unfortunately, they couldn't get him. And speaking of couldn't get him, a lot of people have been talking on Twitter and so on, like, why didn't the Dodgers get JD Martinez? How come they didn't get him at the trade deadline? Why did, another team pick him up for cheap? Well, let's remember, Martinez plays right field. And way back at the trading deadline, the Dodgers weren't looking for a right fielder. Why? Because they've got a guy named Yasiel Puig. And they've got another whole batch of outfielders. Picking up an outfielder was not their priority at the time. The Dodger front office is kind of gun shy when it comes to making trades. I was surprised personally that they even made as big a trade for Yu Darvish as they did. It was a good move and it hasn't played off yet, but we'll see how that does over Darvish's next couple of starts. But their priorities way back at trade time was not picking up another outfielder. It was picking up a starting pitcher and shoring up the bullpen. They were really stingy in bullpen acquisitions, but that's their style. But they weren't going to look for an outfielder because they've got a ton of outfielders. And that's one reason why, he wasn't going to come. They picked up Granderson specifically because people are going to say, well, why did they get Granderson? Well, they picked him up specifically because he does very well against some other pitchers that the Dodgers are anticipating they're going to be seeing in the playoffs. So that's why Granderson was a grab. The other thing, of course, being that whole clubhouse chemistry thing. Now, what about the Dodger bats, and what can we hope for? Justin Turner has started getting hot again, and I think we can stop saying he started getting hot. Justin Turner is back to normal. We've got Trace Thompson coming up. We've got Culberson, who's kind of We've got Ethier, who's coming back from the DL. Ethier is still kind of stumbling around and trying to find his way. Ethier's a good bat when he gets started, and let's hope that he can get started. But I think that there is some hope for those guys there. Trace Thompson, if I didn't mention him before, is also coming up. He's got a decent bat when he gets hot. So let's hope he clicks in. And let's not forget, Alex Verdugo, who's been called up almost specifically for his bat and his power bat. So all we really need is for one of our pitchers to start getting hot again and one of our hitters to start getting hot again. And you will start to see this team settle down and turn things around. So is it time for a panic? Not really. It's time for a logger and settle back and see what happens and how things play out for the Dodgers. Give them another 10 days or so of, yes, these auditions. I would imagine if the auditions are not playing well, Dave Roberts is smart enough to start playing a little bit more for the wins and start getting a little bit more, on top of things. But otherwise, hey, chill, relax, have a cold one, and just wish some good luck for our Dodgers. But there's no reason to panic because there's time, they're working on things, and this is a very good team. They have been a monster team all season. There's no reason to think that they won't continue. All right? So, everybody, peace, go Dodgers as always, and we'll see you next time.